Let's go. Welcome back into the Squishy Sport podcast and the continuation of my NRL Season Team Previews for 2026. It's a new year, baby. We are literally just a tick over 4 weeks away from the first NRL preseason game. Oh my goodness. I think I just got goosebumps. That must mean we've got good 8 weeks away from the first Vegas game. Oh, keen as a bloody bean. But if you are new to this channel, make sure you give us a massive like and a subscribe to the YouTube channel. This is my 10th NRL team preview so far for the season coming up. So we've done previous 9. I do release 2 every single Tuesday morning. So the Titans and the Dragons will come out at the same time. I recorded the Titans one actually yesterday and then went to do the Dragons, and then my phone started overheating and all sorts of things. So I'm recording it tonight, but we'll be coming out at the same time. If you want to go check out the other previous 8 after this, remember to go check them out. If your team is there, we've done Manly, we've done the Doggies, we've done the Dolphins, we've done the Raiders, we've done the Warriors, we've done the Cowboys, we've done the Sharkies, and we've done the Tigers as well, to reel them off the top of my head. So we've got 7 more to go after this one. Officially over the halfway point so far, but it's been so good just to deep dive into how these NRL teams are looking heading to 2026, what my thoughts are, where's it heading. If this is the first one you've had to listen to, all done pretty much the same. We're going to have a look at their 2025 recap and how they've gone. Going to have a look at their 2026 gains and losses. So who's joining the club in 2026 and who has been leaving the club, heading to somewhere else in 2026 or potentially retired. And then we're going to have a look at their best 1 to 17 and the rest of their squad, how they're going to go when there's injuries, how's their depth looking, how's the best overall. What is their squad looking for round 1 this year? Then we're going to have a look at a bit of their draw and analyze their draw a little bit. Is there some good patches? Is there some bad patches? Overall, is it quite difficult for them and how they'll manage the season? As I said, we're going to go on with the St George Illawarra Dragons for this episode here. So how I do it is I give you what my ladder prediction was. I brought out this ladder predictor video probably about 5 weeks ago now, and oh my goodness gracious me, for this team in particular, it was very controversial, and I can understand why, but it's obviously my opinion at the end of the day. I look at where this team is heading, where they were last year, what I sort of think is like the attitude is like within the club, and then their draw as well to go along with it. So I have the Dragons getting the wooden spoon this year. Straight off the bat, I think they get the wooden spoon. I get it. All the comments when I posted this video of my ladder predictor, they've never gotten last before. You know, they're not going to get last. They're never going to get last. They always manage to get 16th or 15th or 14th or scrape through. They're going to make top 8. I think there's a first time for everything. I just don't see where the direction is going with the Dragons in 2026 at all. I'm going to talk about it. First thing I want to talk about, let's go through their 2025 recap, because they finished 15th for 2025. 15th. And, you know, I got a lot of comments saying, yeah, but look at how many games that they lost by 1 score. Look how many sort of 2-score games they're involved in. And I want to more look at the 1-score games, because there were a lot of them for the Dragons. 2-score games, I think you've just got being pretty fairly, right? I think if you've been over a try, there's no, you can't really blame the ref. You can't blame too many things. You just probably got outplayed on the day. Let's have a look at their 1-score games. They had 12 of them in 2025. So over half their games are 1-score game. They had a 4-8 record in those. And I look at that 4-8 record and go, okay, you're 2 away from going 6-6. You're also 2 losses away from going 2-10 in those. And I look at that 4-8 record and I go, what does that come down to in the end? The 1-score games. Doesn't it come down to, they had a lead and they choked it away, which did happen? Does it come down to the coaching? Does it come down to the experience of the halves and game managing? How they manage a game in the last 5-10 minutes? When's the right time to kick a field goal? Is the defense having a mental lapse in the last 5-10 minutes and conceding a try when it matters? Or, as I said, is the halves just not quite producing at the right time? Are there marquee players just not quite producing when it matters? And I think it's totally fair. You look, they got 15th on the ladder. They had a 4-8 record. You look at their halves of Kyle Flanagan. It was Lockie Ilias there as well. You had King Tongi there as well. You look at those halves. You look at, for me, a coach like Shane Flanagan, and like, isn't that fair? Like, if I was 6-6, I'd be like, okay, like they managed their game quite well for half of them, considering the half situation that they actually have. I look at the half situation for the Dragons. I think it's bottom 4 for me. I'm happy to be proven wrong, but I just look at it and go, it's bottom 4. Looking at how the season went as a whole, on the attack, they scored 498 points, which ranked them in 14th. Defense-wise, they conceded 628, which ranked them in 15th. They finished 15th on the ladder. And this is what I mean. Like, all the people are saying, yeah, but it could have been so much different. Looking at the stats, I don't think it should have been different at all. They got 14th, they had the 14th best attack, and they had the 15th best defense. Puts them in the bottom 4 for me, and they finished 15th. And instead of the 4-8 record in one-score games, it could have been worse. It could have been 3-9, it could have been 2-10. Yeah, it could have been better. But if you look at their situation, how it was in the halves last year, and that's where it generally comes down to, like, how did the halves play, managing the game, coming down the stretch, because that's the people who manage the game. That's where your kicking game comes from. That's where your field goals come from. How did the halves manage a game in the last 5-10 minutes when you're 1 score up, when you're 2 scores up even? How do they manage to get it over the line where there's not too much pressure put back on the defense? And I think you exactly saw it with the halves combination you're getting. I think you're getting the result that you're exactly should be expecting, really. The thing that really is, like, in this offseason, it really does sort of put me in a low light for me with the Dragons is Shane Flanagan, probably about a month ago. He's already come out and said that Daniel Atkinson, they're signing for halves for next year coming from the Sharks, and Kyle Flanagan will be the halves in 2026. And some people are like, yep, that's probably expected. No problem with that. Let's go. They can train together for the preseason. I look at that and go, okay, what about a guy like King Tongia? No, he was there. He's just immediately ruled out for round 1. You're not going to give him a shot. Wouldn't it be good for a team like the Dragons that came 15th to have some more competition in your halves heading into preseason, to want Atkinson to train that bit more harder, to want Kyle Flanagan to train that bit more harder? I just think, especially a guy like Kyle Flanagan, who is on a low contract, but you're paying for what you get, right? And he already knows 3-4 months before the season starts that he's going to be starting in Vegas pretty much no matter what, unless there's a freak injury in preseason or something. And I just think, like, effort-wise and attitude-wise, I think he goes into preseason training thinking, okay, if I make a mistake, it's all good. I'm starting round 1 anyway. Don't you want the pressure? Like, I would understand, like, if you came second in the top 4, like your Storm, you know you got Hughes and Munster. Panthers, you know you got Cleary and you got Talangi there. Like, you know what you're getting from that, but it's been proven. And this halves combination hasn't been proven yet, especially with Kyle Flanagan there in the 6th role. We don't know who's going to be 6, who's going to be 7. Daniel Atkinson, he's coming to a new team. He's coming to a system that's, like, a lot more poor than what the Sharky system is. So I think people are expecting the talent that Daniel Atkinson has is just going to completely translate over to the Dragons. I don't think so, because the Shark system is better than the Dragon system. You know, and like Shane Flanagan, I can't believe this. He got extended in August last year till the end of 2028. They finished 15th. That was near the back end of their season. They finished 15th, and he got a 3-year extension. Where is this team going? It would not shock me if Shane Flanagan is on the hot seat for the Dragons this year. I just don't see the direction at all. And that's why I've literally got them wooden spoon. I may be sounding harsh, but you've got to be harsh if you're predicting a team, for me, a team to come last and back it up. And, you know, how harsh the media is going to be if they do end up coming last or very much near the bottom. And there's other issues going on as well. One of the best New South Wales Cup players going around halves-wise, Jonah Glover, played a bunch of New South Wales Cup games for the Dragons, nearly close to 50. Took him to the grand final last year and lost to the Warriors in like the All-State grand final, which was one of the best New South Wales Cup teams going around. He has come out and now gone to South, and because of why, he said he never even got a chance at a look-in for the Dragons halves. It's like, what? How does a talented kid like this, dominating New South Wales Cup, not even get a look-in at Dragons in the halves there? A team that came 15th on the table last year. 2 spots away. I think they're, 2 wins off getting last? And you're telling me a kid like this doesn't get any shot whatsoever? I just don't get it. It's just like the whole looking at it, and I can completely understand why he's gone to South, because you think, okay, Cody Walker's going to retire there soon. Yeah, it's a bit of a battle with Ashton Ward and Jamie Humphries there as well. But if I work really hard, it sounds like he will be getting an opportunity there if he works hard. And I just can't believe that at the Dragons, which is a club with a halves combination that is not top 8, not set in stone, not being proven whatsoever, and he doesn't get a lick in. And such a shame to see him leave. And I think Souths will absolutely make the most of it. They should be Dragons should be ruining the fact that they let Jonah go. Another one as well, they let Lockie Ilias go, and I get it. Lockie Ilias, he's not your grand final winner. He's not like a top 8 half. He's not someone who's going to take you to the finals, that sort of thing. But he's solid, right? It's more, he reckons he got treated unfairly. He came out in the podcast, the Josh Mansell podcast after. Reckons he got treated unfairly. He got dropped afterwards at round 3, I believe, last year for poor defensive decisions. We know it probably wasn't that, and then really didn't get a lick in for the rest of the season. And it just does make you think. And there should be no coaching bias whatsoever to sons if there happens to be a coaching father and then a son playing combination. You don't really see it with Nathan and Ivan. I get completely different because Nathan is one of the best in the world. It just looks like it's just Kyle gets a little bit more of a chance than other halves do, which you do hate to see it, and that just makes you wonder, if you are a Dragons fan, is that a positive for their club or is that more a negative? I definitely take that as more a negative, 100%. Anyway, that's my little sort of, rant on the Dragons early on heading to 2026. Let's have a look at their 2026 gains and losses, right? So, obviously, we know the marquee one is Daniel Atkinson, who has signed a 3-year deal from the Sharkies. Honestly, I'm really happy for a guy like Atkinson. Finally gets his starting role in the Dragons. I think he is the number one guy there at the Dragons. Finally gets to showcase what he can do over 80 minutes over a long stretch of games, right? And you know what? He's got a pretty decent backline, pretty solid backline around him, pretty good players. You've got Gutho, who's played Origin, Damien Cook, who's played Origin, Jacob Little, who's super talented. Obviously, Kyle Flanagan, he's sort of been there in amongst it there. You got Val Holmes in one center, you got Moses Sully. A lot of talent sort of around them to make the opportunity. I do think the Dragon system is not as good as the Sharks system. If you disagree with that, that's fine. But look at the results previous years, you'd probably have to agree with that for me there. The other one, the main one, is Josh Kerr. He's come over from the Dolphins, 2-year deal. I think that's a pretty solid signing. And this one I actually am excited for because he's a former Warrior in the New South Wales Cup, and that is Setu 2. If you're not aware of Setu 2, so it's Setu surname 2, he is a winger/centre, absolutely dominated in New South Wales Cup for the Warriors last year. Scored 13 tries in 14 games. He is big, he's tall, he's got some muscle on him. He's going to be a really, really clutch player for the Dragons heading into 2026. Hopefully he gets a starting role straight away. However, that Setu 2 signing came from the fact that they let Sione Fainu go. Why? Sione Fainu absolutely brained it in preseason at the start of last year. Scored 4 tries in the Charity Shield, I believe. Never really got his massive opportunity in the NRL like last year. When he did get it, he absolutely took advantage, I thought. Absolute great get by the Rays to be able to get him for 2026. I hope he gets his opportunity there because he is unbelievably talented. But 2026 games, there's not a whole lot there on that list. There, your sort of main 3 signs. You got David Farley coming over from Penrith as well. Now, if we look at their 2026 losses, and we've spoken about a few of them already, obviously like your Jonah Glover, Lockie Ilias, Sione Fainu as well. Then you got guys like, Cody Ramsey, he was there in amongst it, he's off to the Roosters. Michaela Ravalawa, he's off to the Super League. A little bit of a loss. Very hot and cold we got from Ravalawa. Jack DeBellin, he's off to the Eels. A guy that actually loved playing for the Dragons. He put his heart and soul to the Dragons. Probably one, if you looked in the park, kind of similar to like a Tino from the Titans, I guess, situation. He wanted to play for the Dragons. He wanted to be there. And when he left, not on his terms, he was shattered. Absolutely shattered about it. So Hope he gets his opportunity at Eels, but I know deep down he probably still wants to play for the Dragons, in all honesty. Tom Eisenhuth didn't play last year. He is now retired. Who else have we got? We got David Clemmer. He is off back to the Super League for St Helens. Francis Molo, that's a little bit of a loss in the forward pack there. He's off to the Dolphins. That's about it. Ben Murdoch-Masila, he's retired. Pretty solid career from him. But yeah, a lot of long list of names there for the Dragons that you're more losing than definitely gaining. You just got to hope Daniel Atkinson really does step it up for the Dragons coming into next year, 100%. I do worry about the depth for the Dragons, though, definitely heading to 2026, because, as I said, you can talk about, your Jack DeBellins and, Ravalawa, starters and that sort of thing, but there are a lot of, depth signings there that definitely lost, like your Fanus, your Jacob Glovers, Ilias, a little bit of Clemmer as well, maybe Molo as well. So, yeah, will be interesting to see how the Dragons do go. Let's have a look at their best 1 to 17 heading into Vegas for this year, coming up in a couple months. Obviously, if there is a long-term injury for a player, I definitely will mention it and have them involved, later on in the best 1 to 17 later on in the season. Does look like Dragons should be pretty fine, though, heading into round 1 in Vegas. Not too many sort of big injuries. Let's start off fullback. Captain aside, Clint Gufferson. Obviously, no shadow of a doubt he is going to be there. First year with the Dragons last year, I thought he started off super hot. I think he was one of the best going around. Kind of cooled off in the middle bit there. He had a couple good games, but just he couldn't quite string together enough consistency and hold on to that hot start that he had at 2025. We know what he can do, though. We know what he can produce. Obviously, he's another year older, but obviously probably a top 10, top 8 fullback going around still in the comp. Work also. He's going to get you a lot of meters. Pretty solid fullback for the Dragons, I reckon. Looking into your halves, so I've gone for Setu 2 on one wing. I hope he does get the start there. I think he will. If he doesn't, he does deserve it definitely later on down the track. And then the other one, the money man, Christian Tuipulotu, scored plenty of tries for the Dragons last year and plenty of celebrations as well. Very solid wing pairing. Honestly, you can get, I reckon your hot games will be super, super hot. Your cold games could be pretty cold, though. You just don't quite know, but it's not nowhere near the worst wing duo. Your center duo, really solid as well. Valentine Holmes, Origin player, Australian player, grand final winner. Say less about Valentine. We know what you're going to get. Hopefully his goal kicking is good, but damn, he had some shocking days. And then you got Moses Sully on the other center as well. Another guy that can absolute freight train through a defense on his day. You look at that sort of back five, it's not that bad. In me, it's not the worst, shouldn't be the worst in the comp. It's just where it all comes together. And this is where I think it may be a bit of a struggle street. So obviously we've got Kyle Flanagan in the 6th role. We've got Daniel Atkinson in the half role. We spoke about it a little bit. We're seeing Kyle, he put on some really good passes to Tuipulotu early on in the season. Gutho likes to run, that backwards run through the left side as well behind Flanagan and then pass it out to him. It does work really well, but it's just with Flanagan, the consistency. And he gets cops in the media over and over again. But he's on a pretty low contract, right? That's what you should be expecting from a guy that's on that contract, is not for him to go out and win your games. Just for him, to have his moments here and there, but you can't expect him to have the ball in his hands and go win the game for you. He's not paid the $1 million to go do that, like your Munsters, like your kind of Blaze Talangi, in a way, like your Tom Dearden's, he's 6 and 7 here and there. Daniel Atkinson in the 7. We spoke about him just before. I am excited for him to get his opportunity. I'm intrigued to see how the kicking game is for the Dragons heading into this year for sure. I assume obviously Valentine will be goal kicking for the Dragons. So I'm kind of excited to see how Daniel Atkinson manages a whole 80-minute NRL game all in a stretch. Has a few losses in a row. How does he bounce back from it? Does he, if he has 2 wins to start the season, then has a loss? How does he bounce back from the loss? If he has a shocker in Vegas, like Luke Metcalf did, how does he bounce back from that? Very, very intriguing. Very curious to see how Atkinson does go in Vegas and how he goes for the whole of the season as well. Looking at your forward roles, we've got Josh Kerr up front, very solid. And you also got Toby Catchment, one of the Catchment brothers there. Honestly, very solid young forward pairing there for the Dragons. Should get you some good meterage there. In your hooker role, go on Damien Cook to start with as well. One of the things for me that sort of not annoyed me last year with the Dragons, but I want to see more of Jacob Little. I don't want him to start. I think Damien Cook is really good just to get into that nitty-gritty the first 20 minutes. I'd love to see more of a 40-40 minute split from Cookie and Little. I think Little is so dynamic. I think he's awesome. I think he's an awesome number 9. And I just think him coming on for like your last 20-25 minutes, it's just not good enough. You know, you could be in a situation where they're down by 18 and then he comes on. You feel like the game's wasted away. I feel like if you bring him on after 20 minutes, all the forwards, done their hard work, get a bit of pace in there, injection, get Cookie off. Cookie's another year older. Like, I'm not sure how old Damien Cook is off the top of my head. He'd be well in his 30s now, and you got a guy like Jacob Little there ready to go off the bench. I just want to see him get more minutes. Maybe, you never know, it's an injury. I'd love to see him get a starting role somewhere in the future. I think he deserves it. I think he's awesome. Good combination there with your 9 and 14. I just want to see more of Jacob Little, though. I think he provides more good than what Damien Cook does bring to the attack, at least. So we look at their attack, was 14th for the season, 498 points. Looking at 20 points in average a game. I think if they want to step it up, I think you're going to get Jacob Little there. Expose the tied forwards, which he can. And I think they'll score more points. Looking at your second rows, we've got Luciano Leilua there on the right. Leilua, he's very solid. He's been there at the Cowboys before. Very solid play. He'll do his work. And then on the other side, you got Jaden Sewer. Guy who's played Origin before. I think he's very solid as well. Had a bit of a quieter year last year. Didn't quite get back up to that Origin standard that we're used to seeing. But room for improvement heading back into 2026, 100%. And then in your lock role, I really like this guy, Hamish Stewart, one of the young guns coming through in the lock role. Absolute workhorse, right? Will absolute work his way down to the bone. Cannot wait to see Hamish Stewart and how he relishes going in a starting role all season long. Now that Jack DeBellin's not there, he gets his opportunity now at the starting lock role for the Dragons all season, pending injuries. Great opportunity, I think, for Hamish Stewart, one of the young guns coming through in the NRL. All right, if we look at the interchange for the Dragons, just spoke about it before in the 14, Jacob Little. That pretty much goes without question there. Get that 2 hooker rotation playing there for the Dragons there. Just want to see him play more rather than like 20-25 minutes at the end. 15, you got the other Catchman brother, Ryan Catchman. Very handy replacement. Good to see both Catchman brothers in the Dragons team there. In your 16 jersey, Dylan Egan. I'll actually have to check this. He's in the best 1-17. I have to check if he's in there for Vegas, though. Had an ACL, I think it was halfway through the year last year. I just have to actually confirm if he is good to go for round 1. If he's not, it'll be very early stages of the season for sure. And then 17 jersey, we've got Haim Saleh, solid forward. Gets his 20-25 minutes in the forward role there. Good little handy replacement when Josh gets a break or Toby needs a break, that sort of thing. All right, let's look at the rest of the squad because there's a little bit of depth there. There's a little bit, but it's more like it's kind of similar to how the rest of the team goes, I guess, with experience-wise. You've got really no game breakers there. You've got no ones that are absolutely fighting to get onto team. No one that really, I think, should be there. I think they may be there near the end of the season, though. So you got a guy like Matt Feeney, so the brother of Max. Again, I'd rather have like Setu and Christian Tuibilatu on your wings. Even then, I'd rather have Valentine Holmes and Moses Sully in your centres there. Blake Laurie. Weird one, because Shane Flanagan doesn't seem to get along with Blake Laurie. Maybe it gets all blown over in the off-season, similar to Ricky Stewart and Corey Horsburgh. I don't really mind Blake Laurie. I think he's just not getting opportunity with Shane Flanagan. I think he'd be way better off going somewhere else. Loco Pacifici Tonga. Oh my goodness. This guy is an absolute beast. I think if he does, I want him to get some game time. He's the one guy I look at this bench and go, yes, I want him to get more game time for sure. I want him to see it in the 17. You're going to have injuries. I'm sure he'll get some game time. Emre Gula. He's been there. He was at the Raiders. Handy little replacement if one of these edge rowers get injured there. Another one, Jacob Halangahu, another forward that is coming through for the Dragons. I do have to give the Dragons credit. They have got some really young forwards coming through, which is good to see. Very good for your forward pack, like your Toby Couchmans, like your Dylan Egans, like your Jacob Halangahus, like your Pacific Tongas. Good to see them coming through. My main worry, go back to it, is the halves for this year with the Dragons and just how they're going to score points. And then you got King Tonga there. I'm a bit disappointed for King Tonga because I thought in patches he was really good for the Dragons, especially his debut game. And I just love if Shane Flanagan actually came out and said, nah, it's an actual race for the 6 jersey. I'm going to see who's more impressive in the preseason. We'll get King Tonga a go starting at 6 in one preseason game, and we'll get Kyle Flanagan a go starting at 6 in the other preseason game. See how they go for one game with Daniel Atkinson at the 7 role. Honestly, play for that number 6 jersey. Whoever plays better in that preseason game should be in the starting role in Vegas there. And it's just a bit of a shame that King Tonga already knows heading into preseason, even though he played, half of the games for the Dragons last year, that he's not even going to be probably featuring in Vegas, which is, as I said, I just worry about how the whole attitude and the extra effort that goes into it, knowing that no matter how hard he works in the preseason, he's probably not going to get maybe an opportunity until round 4 or 5, maybe 6, unless there's an injury. And then your last one is Tyrell Sloan. And then, Sloan. What can you say about Sloan? When he's good, it feels like he could play Origin. When he's bad, it feels like he's never even touched a footy in his life. I would be putting, you got Nathan Lawson there as well, and you got Matt Feeney. I would maybe even look at Feeney beforehand. As I said with Sloan, you just don't know what you're going to get. You just have no idea, really. I think he's had his opportunity as a starting role. I think he's had his opportunity at fullback, on the wing, that sort of thing. He's going to come into fullback if Gutherson gets injured. Yeah, Sloan. We know what Sloan's right. If you're listening to this, you know what Tyrell Sloan's like. You just go, meh. Good is good, bad is very bad for me there. All right, that's their 1 to 17 though. And then looking at their squad, it's not too bad depth wise. It's not too bad. It's just more. There's not a whole lot of game breakers in this team for me. Can Daniel Atkinson break a game open? Potentially. Can Kyle Flanagan break a game open? On the rare occasion, he's not paid his wage to really do it. Can Clint Gutherson really break a game open? Maybe. I think he's a little bit past his prime. Can Cookie break a game open? Maybe a little bit. Can Hamish Stewart step up into a role where plays a lot of big minutes and maybe be similar to your Pat Carrigans or Isaiah Yos and that sort of thing? Potentially, I would love to see it though. I just don't see the direction, and I really don't kind of like what is happening with Shane Flanagan, how he's gone about this whole offseason. I think he's just sort of, cradling Kyle a little bit in the situation. So yeah, that's why I've got them coming last. I don't think they're going to be last by a mile. I just think, all up, I just struggle to see. I think we're going to see some improvement from a team like the Knights. I think we see a tiny bit of improvement from a team like the Titans. Yeah, I'll be interested to see. I will put my hand up if I'm wrong. If they get anywhere near the top 8, I'll be pretty surprised. But let's have a look at their draw, because the draw, it's not too bad. It's not too bad. They only have to play one top 4 team twice, which is the Doggies, which is pretty common. They play them, I think they start the season against them in Vegas. In the other top 8, you've got Sharkies and the Warriors have to play twice, so they do have to head over to New Zealand for a game. And then obviously you got your rival in the Sharkies, naturally play them twice every year. They get to host the Storm, which is not so bad. I remember them playing the Storm at home last year in the pouring wet, and they beat them. You've got Roosters on Anzac Day, of course. They don't actually play them twice, which is unusual. Usually do see them play them twice. They play Broncos and Raiders on the road, which is going to be pretty tricky. At Suncorp and in Canberra, it's 2 pretty tough games. Then they play the Panthers at Magic Ground. You never know what can happen there. Neutral ground, never really know. You've got buys in round 9, you got buys in round 15, and buys in round 19 as well. So similar to what the Titans do have. Get 8 games at the start of the season to get your season going. Get a bit of a break there, and then they should have a break for the second Origin, and then the week after Origin 3, it looks like as well. Looking at this team, though, there shouldn't be too many players missing from Origin period. maybe pretty much just Valentine Holmes, and potentially Jaden Sewer. Probably don't see it though, in all honesty. So the draw's not too bad. It's not too bad. There's going to be some winnable games there. I didn't have a look who they're playing twice in the bottom 8. My bad. There's some winnable games there. It's just, it's where they're going to put it together. I'm just really not quite sure. I don't think they'll be landslide bad at all. It's just, where is this team heading? Where is the direction? I get it, they got young forwards coming through. Is Shane Flanagan really the coach that's going to take him to a top 8 berth? I just don't quite see it. But reached a half-hour mark. That will do it for this episode of the Scooshy Sport podcast, previewing the St George Illawarra Dragons for the 2026 season. Obviously, if you're living under a rock, I do have them coming in last for the 2026 wooden spooners for this year, in my opinion. So we went through their 2025 recap. I looked at how their one-score games went last year, because they did have a lot of them. Talked about their 2026 gains and losses, and what I sort of think is heading, potentially where this Dragons team is heading, and like, why have they lost these key marquee players, these young players that they've been building up for a couple of years now. Went through their 1-17 and the rest of the squad, and then had a look at their draw as well. Very interesting to see where this Dragons team is heading. I think it'll be a little bit of a down year, coming 15th in 2025, but I think the record showed it and their stats showed it as well. I just don't see where the improvement does really happen for the Dragons heading into 2026. But remember to smash the like button, subscribe to the channel as well, getting more and more subs every day, which I'm so appreciative of. Remember to go over, watch the Titans preview, came out at the same time. Remember to go check out the other 8 previews as well. I'll be coming out with 2 more next week for you. Got the Global Sports Roundup coming out tomorrow, reviewing the latest sporting news from around the globe in the last week. And then we've got our Red Zone Report Wild Card Weekend coming up, baby. How bloody good. That will do it, as said, for this one. Thank you so much for watching, and cheers.